Hey guys, Kenny Castor here today, bringing you a legacy video against Brian Braunduin. Today we're going to do Rug Delver, one of my legacy favorite decks. Go into the deck, we have our creature package. Basically we just have Tarmogoyf, Nimble Mongoose, Delver Secrets. We just want cheap, efficient creatures. Delver, 3 power for 1 mana. You can't really ask for more than that. Tarmogoyf, the best 2-drop since, well, Tarmogoyf. Also, to note, the Modern Masters Tarmogoyfs, here they are in the flesh. Nimble Mongoose, just a very good creature. It's really good against all the decks with Tundras in them. Decks that try and grind you out, go to the long game. This deck really just wants to stay in like the first few turns, and that's really what I love about the deck, is that everything either costs 0, 1, or 2 mana. So you can function with everything, all the cards that you have, off of like 1 or 2 lands. That way you don't get flooded. Brainstorm really helps a lot with that. Going right along, we have our removal package. A lot of times I've seen lists, they'll have, the mainstay is the 4 lightning bolts. You always want to keep those. They're just another Delver if you need to deal the 3 damage. Or, they're removal spells. They pretty much hit everything besides like a Batter Skull, which at that point, you should have just bolted the Stoneforge Mystic. But we've got also Fork Bolt. I cut it down. I think that if you expect like a more meta game with like more Tarmogoyfs versus like more Lingering Souls, then that's the difference between like Dismember and Forked Bolt. I like Forked Bolt against the Lingering Souls just because like I know it's like seems like half a card for like a full card if you think about it that way, but it's basically another turn. Like against that deck, you just want to like be able to play a creature on like 1 or 2, and then just like really just tempo them out, whether it's with like Stifle or Daze or Spell Pierce. A new addition to the deck is Gitaxian Probe. I've never played with it, but the last Legacy Open that I did play this deck in, I like tapped a blue mana to play a Delver, where like if I would have kept up the blue, I could have played Stifle and Spell Pierce. So there's just like very small situations where like if you know perfect information, there's no way you can lose the game. You just play all their cards into yours, and that's another thing that I just love about the deck, is just its consistency. Also to be able to play the games for both people. Speaking of consistency, we have 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder. They just make the deck flow so good. Like I said, everything is cost 1 or 2 mana. So if you ever do get flooded, you can always Brainstorm your lands away and fetch them. Shuffle your deck with the fetch land, is what I meant. Or Ponder. Ponder just finds every spell that you need, like I said, just as well as Brainstorm. The counter spells that we have Stifle. Stifle's more of a tempo card. It seems like a lot of the decks weren't really playing it. Like a while back, they were just playing like more Spell Pierces and maybe some Spell Snares. But I do think that Stifle is one of the main cards that really does make the deck function at its like highest capacity. Force of Will, you definitely just need 4 of these always. It's a free counter spell. Your deck is just want to play a creature, counter everything they play. So like a free counter spell isn't going to hurt anything. But I do board them out a lot, it does seem like, versus usually the decks with like Thoughtseize or Inquisition. Anything that's trying to just like rip your hand apart, that's going to leave you with like a Force of Will and like a Lightning Bolt, just make it uncastable pretty much. There's only 2 copies of Spell Pierce in this deck. Like I said, you had to make room for the Gitaxian Probe. When I did see the Probe for the first time, I think it was in Jacob Wilson's top 8 list, I just instantly fell in love with it, especially like I said, because the week before I just died because I didn't have perfect information. But this, with a lot of the like Dream Halls decks or combo decks that are coming up, then you really want to be able to have perfect information on everything. The lands that we have, basically it's just, they're all blue fetch lands. It really doesn't matter what they are. Whether it is Scalding Tarn, Misty Rainforest, Floodstrand, whatever. Just 8 of those. If you do ever want to play the 19th land, which sometimes in like when Rug Delver is like a bigger deck, it's probably better to play the 19th land and probably just another fetch land, maybe like Wood of Foothills or something. There's also 4 Wasteland in the deck. Like I said, the deck wants to be able to bring an opponent down to where you're playing. Like if you're going turn 1, 2, you want to be able to like, even if it's turn 4, you want them to only have like 2 lands or something. That's what the Stifle and the Wasteland are there for. And then there's just the 6 lands that do make the actual mana. 3 volcanic, 3 tropical. Can't really ask for anything better. You can get them with any of the fetch lands, and that's about it. This is the main deck, and we'll move right along to the sideboard in just a second. Okay, moving right along to the sideboard, we have, basically this is our combo package. We have the other 2 spell pairs, basically just to fill out the make a force in the main deck. We have a Grafdigger's Cage. I've tried between Surgical Extraction and Grafdigger's Cage. I mean, like Tormod's Crypt sometimes. I feel like Grafdigger's Cage is probably the best one because it also stops Green Sun Zenith, which can be a factor whenever you're playing against like an elf deck. Also, Rough Tumble. Rough Tumble's good against like the elves deck. This is more of like the removal set right here. We've got Submerges, we've got Rough Tumbles, and a Fork Bolt. I do like the Fork Bolt against like the decks that do have like Dark Confident too. Those decks usually have like Lingering Souls sometimes. And I do like to bring in Rough Tumble against them as well because they have like Deathrite Shaman, Stoneforge Mystic, basically just the Esper Blade deck. You can sometimes even get like every single creature they have in play. Also against those decks, you want the Loam. It usually like goes to like a grindy matchup. And like I said, you really want to try and make the whole matchup to like a point where you're functioning on like 2 lands as well as them, and so if you can like Loam Wasteland lock them, then the game's usually pretty over. Loam also is very good with like Brainstorm and its Ancestral Recall, kind of. Pyroblast, usually I've seen lists with just 2 of these, but I think that if the metagame is picking up on like the combo decks where there's like a lot of show and tell decks, Dream Halls decks, and Into the Infinite decks, you can get them with the 4 or the 3 Pyroblast. They're also good against like the Mirror, the Wasteland decks, basically any Brainstorm deck it's good against. And then we just got a couple catch-all cards. We've got Crowswind Grip and an Ancient Grudge. I also like bringing these in against any Stoneforge Mystic deck. I was playing Sulfuric Vortex, but it just feels like those aren't really cutting it anymore. Sometimes they can race you if they have like Dark Confident and Deathrite Shaman and then the Stoneforge, and then the life gain doesn't even really matter, and they just kill all your creatures, and then they just kill you with their creatures. But I like switching it up with a 1-on-1 between Crowswind Grip and Ancient Grudge, just because like if you do happen to get Counterbalance locked out, then you do have an out with the Grudge. That's about it. So hopefully we can win the matchup today. I believe he's playing Bug, so we'll see how it goes, and wish me luck.